Okay, so writing linear equations, there's several different ways to write linear equations. It really depends how you write them on what you're given for information, okay? So it depends on what you're given. So which way that you choose, it's really just going to depend on what was given to you. So when given the slope and the y-intercept, then you're going to use slope-intercept form. Okay, they're named after what you need to have given to you. So if it's slope-intercept form, then you need to have the slope and the intercept. It's that simple. And then once you have it, you have the slope and the intercept. All you have to do is plug them in. And you will be done. Okay, so if you're given the slope and the intercept, you plug them into the equation and you're finished. So for example, maybe I'm going to say write the equation of the line. Write the equation of the line given slope of 1/6 and intercept of -3. So y equals mx plus b. First thing I'm going to do when I read my problem is I'm going to say, what was I given? I was given slope 1/6 and I was given intercept -3. So that is my m and that is my b. You need to know the difference. Label it, underline it in the problem, and label it if you need to. So I'm going to leave the y and the x all alone. I'm going to replace the m and the b. M is 1/6 x and b is -3. That is the equation of the line. Done. Okay? In the second example, you're going to use point-slope form when you are given, guess what? A point on the line x1, y1, and the slope. And the form looks like this. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And this is the point, and this is the slope. Those are the three things that you replace. The others stay exactly the same. So again, here's our example. Write the equation of the line given slope of 1/2 and a point on the line of -4, 5. So again, read the problem. First thing you do, underline what you're given. Slope of 1/2, that's my m. And I was given a point on the line of -4, 5, that's my x1, y1. And then I'm just going to come over here and plug them in. X1 and y1 are going to go here, and slope is going to go here. So all I have to do now is plug them in. So I'm going to get, whoops, I don't want that color, sorry. It's hard to read. Y minus my y1 coordinate. My y coordinate of the point on my line is 5. My slope was 1/2. And my x coordinate was -4. Okay? So what you should really do here, after you've plugged it in, so step 1, plug in. Step 2, simplify any double negatives. And step 3, solve it for y. Okay, so we always want them to be in this form when we're done, y equals mx plus b. So we have to do a little work here. First, we have to fix our double negatives. So y minus 5 equals 1/2 times x minus a negative means +4. Okay, now again, I'm trying to get y by itself, but before I can do that, I have to distribute. y minus 5 equals 1/2 x. 1/2 times 4 is going to be 2. And then I'm going to add 5 to both sides to get y by itself. So y equals 1/2 x plus 7. So there's your equation. So point slope form's a little bit more work. We have to plug it in. We have to make sure we've taken care of our double negatives. We're going to distribute the slope, and then we're going to go ahead and get y by itself. So that's a little bit more work given the point and a slope on the line. Okay. The next section, so you're going to go to the next page. We're going to go ahead and scroll this up. And on the next page, it talks about point slope form when you are given. So sometimes we use point slope form when we're not given both the point and the slope. We use point slope form when you are given 2 points on the line. The reason being, first, use those 2 points to find the slope. We're missing the slope. And then you can choose one of the 2 points, and it doesn't matter which one. Choose one of the 2 points and plug in. The third thing you're going to do, solve for y. So essentially we're going to do the same thing we just did in the last problem, but we have one extra step, and that is to find the slope because they didn't give us the slope. So I'm going to give you this example. I'm not going to write out, write the equation of the line because we're going to run out of room. So here are your 2 points, -2, -1, and -10 and 17. So remember, you have to think about these like your x1, y1, x2, y2. These are the coordinates of your first point. These are the coordinates of your second point. And so the first thing we're going to do is decide, how do you find the slope? So remember, slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y2, 17, minus y1, which is -1. So that's going to be +1. 17 plus 1 is 18. x2, -10, minus x1, -2. Again, that's going to be a +2. -10 plus 2 is -8. So it's going to be negative. These are both divisible by 2, right? 18 divided by 2 is 9, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. So I get -9/4 for my slope. And it doesn't matter which of these 2 points I choose, but I think I'm going to choose this first point because the numbers are much smaller than -10 and 17. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to remember that I'm plugging in my x1 and my y1 and my m. Now, even though this says x1 and y1, that just means a point from the line. You could use x2, y2 if you wanted to. Okay, I don't want to because the numbers are too big. So I'm going to do y minus my y coordinate, which was -1, my slope, which was -9/4, and my x coordinate, which was -2. And then if you look back to the last page, we said the next thing you needed to do was deal with your double negatives. So y plus 1 equals -9/4 times x plus 2. And then we have to solve for y. So I'm going to have to distribute this, right? I know you don't like fractions. I'm moving over here so I have more space. Y plus 1 equals -9/4x. And then over here, I'm going to have -9/4 times 2, right? I'm multiplying that. So negative times a positive, my answer is going to be a negative. 2 goes into 2 once. 2 goes into 4 twice. Multiply across the top, -9, across the bottom, -2. So that's my result when I multiply these out, -9/2. Okay? And then I need to subtract 1 from both sides. So I have to subtract 1. So I'm going to take this -1 and I'm going to change it to 2/2 so that I can then combine this. Y equals -9/4 x. So I have negative and a negative, so more negatives. -11/2. And that is going to be my final answer. So Way sloppier when there's lots of fractions in there. Again, like I said before, you really need to be comfortable with fractions. If you're not, you need to do your work off to the side of your page, or you need to see me about figuring out which app is going to be the best for you to use in order for you to have success with your fractions. Standard form is the last way, and that is the formal answer. We don't always use standard form, but a lot of times we do. These are just numerical values. The A, the B, and the C, those are just the numerical values. So in other words, it's telling you how many X's you have, how many B's you have, and then the constant in the equation. Okay, there's a little checklist that you have to follow when you're dealing with standard form. If you know your equations in standard form, these three things have to be true. X has to be listed first. Okay. The A in front of the X needs to be positive. So the X value has to be positive. And there can be no fractions. Okay, no fractions. So I'm going to give you this example. Y equals 2/3 X plus 6. Let's say I want that equation in standard form. So I need to take this X term and I need to move it over here so it's in front, right? I need X term first, then the Y term second on that left side of the equal sign. And then I want everything that doesn't have a letter in it, just a constant on the right side. Okay? So I'm going to subtract 2/3 X from both sides of my equation. So now on this side I have negative 2/3 X plus Y, and then on this side I have just the 6. So I've got it in the right order. That's great. So X is first. And so the next thing that I need to do is ensure that X is positive because it's not. So to change the sign, I have to multiply it by a -1. If you do that to one part of the equation, you have to do it to all of the equations. So all I'm doing when I multiply by -1 is I'm getting rid of every single thing. All the signs are going to change. So negative becomes a positive. I'm going to go over here where I have room. 2/3 is going to become positive. Y is positive, so it's going to become negative. And 6 is positive, so it's going to become negative. Notice when I multiplied by -1, I did the entire equation, every single term. That's really, really important. So X is now positive, and then no fractions. So how do you get rid of a fraction that has a denominator of 3? Pretty easy. Multiply everything by 3. And when I say everything, I mean every term multiplied by 3. So these are going to cancel, and I'm going to get 2x. 3 times -y is -3y, and 3 times -6 is -18. So there's your equation in standard form. Okay? So writing an equation for stuff given to you, points on a line or graphs on a line, having to write the equations is very, very important. This is a skill that is going to take some time. It's difficult and it takes a little bit of practice, but it's something that you're going to see repeatedly, so you need to get it under your belt.